And having and knowing your net worth is a really important thing to know because it gives you an overview of your finances.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm so glad you're here. Like Danielle said, so many familiar faces. Have people joining us from all over Canada. So that's exciting. Kieran from Chilliwack. Am I saying that correctly? And where is that, Kieran? I'm curious.
It's in BC. It's a Chilliwack.
Oh,
next to Abbotsford. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm sure it's beautiful. I had never been a place in BC that's not beautiful. So that's amazing. Welcome. I'm gonna pull up our.
So hi from Ottawa. We have a few tuning in from Ottawa as well. So welcome.
We are, as usual, very excited to be here with you. Danielle and I talk often, and we talk everything possible. We talk real estate, we talk family, we talk business, we talk dreams. And I'm so appreciative of this kind of friendship that we can discuss. And it's very often as well that we're talking about something and we realize the value of that conversation to other investors, because we have conversations with individual investors all the time. And we're like, hey, this is a question we get a lot. We should really, bring that up in as a discussion to share with others. So we're happy that you've joined us. And we're going to be talking about how to increase your net worth this year.
That's right. We're super excited. Just to start off, there's always a disclaimer. So we're real estate investors, and so we're not professional accountants, mortgage agents, lawyers. So before you take any action, please speak to a professional and make sure that the action you take and the decisions you take reflect your personal circumstances. This is detailed version, but that's pretty much the summary. So make sure you do your own due diligence before taking any action. And what we're going to share here is going to be based on our own personal experience as real estate investors. We're going to cover what is net worth. People think they know what it is, and then it's actually something else. So we're just going to provide the foundation for that. And then we're going to talk about how we calculate your net worth, and then the different strategies, the different ways that you can increase your net worth. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of having a high net worth and all of the great things that you can do with those benefits. And then we're going to move into our case study, the 50 unit deal that we are working on. And then there will be a Q&A, so you can ask us any questions that you might have. So for those of you, I know I saw a bunch of familiar faces and names, but for those who don't know me, my name is Danielle Unsworth, and I live here in Ottawa. I've been investing in real estate for over 13 years. So we currently own 137 units across Canada with amazing, amazing partners. And I'm also a real estate coach. I love helping others start investing in real estate, especially women. And I just love to see others succeed as well. So as a result of giving back and helping others learn about real estate, I'm also a co-founder of the Women Investors Network Canada. And our mission is to create a community for women to connect, support, and be inspired to take action and invest in real estate. Some of you are already members, and we host monthly in-person events here in Ottawa and also online so that we can, have access and connect with women across Canada. And if you don't follow us already, that is our Instagram handle at wink.investors. So we would love for you to join us as well.
I'm Adriana Ostapenko. I have been doing real estate for about 6 years. It became a massive passion of mine. I shifted to full-time and have been building a business around purchasing and operating multifamily apartment buildings over the last 2 years. We have scaled quite quickly, and I really focus on 3 areas in the business. So that's something that's dear and near to my heart. And I think all of us here was, how do we create wealth that's going to go beyond my own life and needs? And that's what the focus was, to learn and implement wealth generation And then we're able to expand that to investors, help them create wealth as well in their lives. I also do education and training on the multifamily space. And lastly, we are for-purpose business as well. And that means that we aim, and Ace Properties aims to give back to the communities. I do believe in a holistic approach to investing and making money in a way that also gives back to the community. So we've grown quite a bit. We're just at over 100 doors, about 133 doors at this point, and then we have another 37 to 48 in development. So we're still finalizing the number there, but that's also very exciting for us.
Okay, amazing. So then we're going to go back to the basics. So what is net worth? So sometimes when I have conversations with beginner investors or even seasoned ones, sometimes they're not quite sure. They think sometimes it's the capital, the money that they have in their bank accounts that they need to physically have. But net worth is actually the difference between your assets and all of your liabilities. So whatever, you own minus your liabilities will give you your net worth. And this can be for an individual or a company as well. And knowing your net worth is a really important thing to know, because it gives you an overview of your finances. And it also gives you, essentially, it's like a progress report, right? Like if you have goals, you need to update your net worth. Usually I recommend every 6 months, or after a major purchase or major decision that affects your finances. That way you can see your progress over time, because the goal is to monitor your finances so that you always know what your net worth is. Okay, so this, again, same thing. Having a high net worth relates to having really good financial strength, right? Which means usually you'll have really good credit and you'll be able to have access to many other opportunities, where if you have a lower or a negative net worth, it usually means that you're in a weaker financial situation and lower credit, which means you probably, are paying a lot of interest and you're making a lot of payments. And so if you know what your net worth is and it's in a negative or it's fairly low for your age range, then that's sort of kind of like a wake-up call to be like, okay, I need to reassess what I'm doing, my strategies, what's working, what's not working. So it's an indicator of where you are and where you want to go. So it's really important to know what your net worth is.
I'm actually very curious. I'd love if you can add in the chat here, how many of you know what your net worth is? And just say like yes or no, and share with us how many actually have that information ready.
Yes, that's a great idea. Just to give us, someone who says, monthly, amazing. I love that. And so, so let us know if this is something that you even talk about sometimes, right? Like sometimes people don't even talk about it. So, and this is something that I've only learned to do since I started investing in real estate, because as we saw, our equity increase, we were like, okay, we need to keep track of things. So that really, and it also gives you motivation and inspiration to keep going towards your goals. So I think it's really important for everyone to know what their net worth is. And so what does it include? So like I mentioned, a lot of times people think it's just the money that they have in their like savings or checkings, but it's actually not that. So what does it include? So it can include your anything in your checkings account, your savings account, retirement savings, your cash that you have. Like if you have a life insurance policy and it's an investment policy and you're gaining cash on that counts as well. And sometimes people forget about that. And then your stocks, your bonds, all of your real estate equity, any, like if you have lots of jewelry, collectibles, all of your cars, and then all of the accounts that are registered, right? Your LIRA, your RSP, your TFSA, all of that stuff. A lot of times people even forget. I've talked to people and they're like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. I have X amount of jewelry and it's worth this much. That counts. And people forget, like everybody has jewelry. And, if you had to replace that, or even the furniture in your house, that's going to cost money. That's considered assets.
That's right. And there's also something else that I learned over time, that even your businesses, so any business that is at a sellable standard. So we own a construction business ourselves, and it will depend on the lender that you're speaking to. If you're using your net worth for financing reasons, will count or not with that. But in general, a business that you can sell and has it's an income producing business. It also has a net worth worth to it. It also has it also counts towards your net worth. And it's something that you can get appraised. You can actually appraise a business that you run as well, if you don't know how to calculate what the worth of that business is.
And then, so these are your liabilities. So I think more people are familiar with this, this concept here. So, so liabilities are any financial obligations or debt that you might have, right? So the most typical one people think of is usually their credit card. It could be a personal loan, like you have like a line of credit that you have to pay off. Your mortgage is definitely a liability, but it's a good debt. So don't forget that. And then you also have your car loans, your student loans, like I said, any credit card balance and any other loans that you might have. So all of those things, anything that you have to pay off or pay back is considered a liability. So the way to calculate it's a very basic formula. So it's just assets minus liabilities equals your total net worth. So this is, like I put here as an example, this is an equity. If you have, let's say, a house and you don't have a mortgage on it, it's worth $200,000 and the balance on it is 150. So that would be your loan, let's say, and then you would add 50 if that's the value of your home, right? So that would be the $50,000 to your net worth. It's essentially, it's very easy. You can just go online and Google net worth calculator. I had included here a link to one that I had created, but it's okay. It's very easy to find online. You literally just type up net worth calculator and a whole bunch of them will pop up. And I always recommend to my students, there's always going to be different versions of the calculator. And some people really like detailed calculators where you show the interest rates of your mortgages and you're entering everything. And then other people like things a bit more simple and they just like to put in like whatever the total mortgage loan is. And so find at least 3 or 4 online calculators that you like and then work through it. And then the one that makes the most sense to you and your personal situation, that's the one I would recommend you save. And then just keep reusing it every 6 months or so.
Okay, let me try to share this one. So this is it's the same thing as a net worth statement. This is from RBC. So this is the exact type of document that I will have to fill out when I'm applying for a commercial financing mortgage. So for the commercial side of things, for purchasing apartment buildings, that's how you're qualifying for it. They're not looking at my T4s. You want to make sure that you are producing some income, that your credit score is good. But ultimately, they're looking at your net worth. And you need to have, as the general partner, the managing partner of a loan, you need to have about 25% of your net worth needs to cover the loan. Your net worth needs to cover 25% of the loan amount. That's how to say that sentence. So they want to see that. And that's how we qualify for commercial lending. What I love about the commercial side is the more buildings I add to our portfolio, the higher my net worth is, the easier it becomes for me to qualify for the next one. So this is one aspect of why knowing your net worth and working on increasing your net worth is very beneficial to you. But this kind of shows what Danielle and her I looked at her calculator, and hopefully you get to see it at some point. Reach out to her. But this is what they're asking here, and it's exactly what Danielle was showing there. They kind of want to see what your assets are, where your liabilities are. They break down into some details on some mortgage payments because they're also looking at your monthly payments. They ask some questions about your overall financial health. And then they go into a little bit more of like stocks, bonds, RSPs, anything that you have. Life insurance is another one. If you have a whole life insurance or term life insurance, some of these things count here. And then they want to see your real estate and your assets, right? As you can see, they also talk about business interests. So if you do own a business and you share equity in that business, what's the total net worth of that business? What is that business valued at? They look at loans, and really that's what they want to know. And by this, you calculate and they calculate. Every lender will have a slightly different personal statement of affairs, as they call it. But that's ultimately what your net worth is, and that's what you're going to use to qualify for on the commercial side of things.
Amazing. And this is a big tip that I'd like to share, is that, like Adriana said, every lender has their own form, but it's essentially this, like the same things that they're asking for. So it's really important for you to have your own, like the one, like I was mentioning, if you have your own form, you can just extract that information into these different forms when you're applying for commercial lending, and you're not, restarting each time. So that way you have your repository, of your own net worth statements, and then you just copy paste and transfer it to these forms, because sometimes you may have to fill out more than one form. And just based on my experience, it's better to have your own and then copy paste. It's much faster.
Obviously, with the assets minus liability, it's pretty, easy to gauge that you have to get rid of your debt and you have to increase your assets. Ultimately, there's a few things. Something that I've learned over time. This is why we talk about topics like this. I'm going to use my mom as an example. She was a huge why I started investing in real estate and wanted to create wealth, because ultimately we lived paycheck to paycheck our whole lives. And that's how she lived. She had savings, and she's always been a saver, putting that money aside every month. It's in a bank account. And that was like her lifeline of like, hey, this is what I have, to live my life if anything were to happen. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of investing going on. There was just no education, no idea of investing. And there wasn't an increase, or there was no increase in net worth over time, other than her primary residence getting paid down. So it goes beyond, cash flow and no debt. It also goes towards, hey, let's invest that money, because that's how you grow. Our very first property that we purchased, and this is how quickly it can grow too. As Danielle is going to share an example later on as well. But our very first property that we purchased, we put in, it was a total of about 250 of our own money. It was a really large renovation. We did take that money back and refinance. But we went from a property that we bought it for $340,000. And then, by the time we were done with it, at 8 months later, it was worth $700,000. We immediately had a net worth increase right there. Over time, the property has increased significantly in value. It's now about 1.2 million. And that has impacted our net worth and ultimately our wealth that's being created through real estate. There's some other things. So when you have that money, when you make the money, make sure you're investing it. Another way to invest it is through private lending. As you know, we find that private lending is one of the easiest way to achieve the highest cash flow that you can. It doesn't have the same effect as owning a property does. It's not the overall same ROI, but it is the highest on the cash flow side. So which is also helpful to operate your life in a good way to keep cash flow coming in. But there's, retirement contributions, saves taxes, and now you can invest those funds into a mortgage product. Have some cash, have some equity, have a combination of both. It's really going to help you on your net worth and your day-to-day operations as well. Obviously, invest in real estate. That's why we're here. Obviously, we're huge believers in real estate. And equity is indeed the fastest way to grow your net worth. I'm going to give you another example right now. Last year, we purchased a 24-unit apartment building, which Danielle herself is one of our investors in that project as well. we purchased over the last 6 months that we've had this building, we've been able to increase the valuation of the building by about $350,000, just due to operations, efficiencies, and turning over units. Where else can you get that kind of growth in such a short amount of time? Make me feel confident towards wealth generation.
Okay, so this is another example that I'm going to share. This is a semi-detached home that I bought years and years ago, but we were not maximizing it. So we decided it had an unfinished basement. So we decided to create a legal basement suite so that we can force the appreciation of this property. And so you can see it here. That's the legal secondary bachelor. It's a small unit. It's 400 square feet. But it is currently renting for $1,200 with a $50 discount because my tenant is an essential worker during COVID, and that was the COVID that we had offered. So if you go to the next one, I'll share some numbers with you here. So this home, we bought it years ago, but before we started the renovations, we had it appraised at the purchase price of $380,000. And then when we did the legal basement conversion, the renovations was about $80,000. It was actually just under it. And it was like right on budget too, which was amazing. We had a really good contractor. There we go. And then so the time required to do this reno was only 4 months. The permit took a little bit longer because it was during COVID, but the actual renovation itself was only 4 months. And then during those 4 months, two weeks, contractors had COVID. So it could have been much sooner too. It could have been 3 months because it was a smaller unit. So it was reappraised after at $670,000. So after our renovations, and also the market was doing really well at that time as well. So we were able to refinance, and the extra capital that was in there was over $232,000 of equity. And so the value of the home increased by $290,000 in just 4 months that we forced this appreciation. So as you can see, the $290,000 is now our new equity that can be added to our net worth. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, where can you create this kind of equity and these kinds of numbers besides real estate, really, right? Like, it would take forever to save this amount. Or even if you were to invest in stocks, it would take a lot of capital to generate this kind of return. So to me, that's why I believe in real estate as an investing strategy to increase my net worth. So, and if you think about it, if this is one project, imagine all of the other projects that you see investors working on. They may not be like this perfect, because this was an amazing project, but you can see the power of increasing your net worth by using real estate.
Somebody asked where the property is located.
This is it's in Ottawa, in Bell's Corners.
Amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Active versus passive, which one's right for you? So this was a topic we actually brought up on our last webinar, I believe, and it really hit home with a lot of people. And we have this conversation quite a bit as well. Ultimately, you can increase your net worth in both ways. And it's just a matter of what is right for you personally. And it's really about your goals. I have a lot of conversations with people where they say, hey, I want to do what you're doing. I want to, own apartment buildings, operate them, be the managing partner, raise capital from investors. Real estate is a vehicle to get you to your goals. What is the goal then? What are you using real estate for exactly? You need to have that kind of clarity so that you know which way, in which direction, and what strategies you're going towards. I would like to retire. I'd like to have more time with my kids, or I'd like to have time to travel. I like to bring up that active investing in real estate is a lot of work because it is a business. I'm just recording something that ultimately that's exactly what I'm saying. When you're buying an apartment building, you're buying a business that you now have to operate and run for a long term. It could be 5-year term, it could be 10 years term. Now, there are a lot of systems, processes, and team members you can add to minimize the amount of your time involvement but it is still a business that you have to run, learn about, operate. There is liability involved, responsibility in it. So like it says here, requires your time, your capital, and your risk. And then I like to break down a little bit of what the roles are for each so that you helps you make that decision of which side you want to be on. In my case, I do both. First of all, I invest in my own deals with my own funds, but we are managing partners and we're building a business around this. So I do put a lot of time, work, and efforts to grow this business and operate it. But I also do some passive investing. I'm a private lender, invest on things that will make sense to me because I also need to leverage other people's time. I want to have some time to myself as well and my family and my kids. So it's awesome I like doing both in my case. So some of the roles and responsibilities here. So commercial financing structure and negotiation, your job as the managing partner here, you're the one who are going to find a deal. It's your job to run the numbers, negotiate with sellers, put things in the contract, due diligence, all of it, overseeing property management and renovations. A lot of people have this idea that if they buy a building, even if it's a duplex or a 24 units, regardless, that they're going to hire property management and property manager is going to run the business for them. And unfortunately, that is just not the case. If you own properties and you currently have a property management, you probably felt that already. Property management, it's a small component of what it takes to run your business in real estate, ultimately. And somebody's got to be managing those, your trades and your teams that are on site doing the work. So keep that in mind as you're looking to grow your business in real estate. And then there's ongoing processes for years. Run this building, operate it properly, keep up with your investor relations, providing legal, accounting, financial performance reports.
Yes, exactly. So this is a really great option for people who have professional careers and love their jobs, right? Like if you are a teacher and you love to teach, you really don't have that daytime opportunity to manage properties and oversee them. Sometimes if you want to continue to grow, you'll have to leverage other people's time and experience. So for example, if you have capital and you know the benefits of investing in real estate, this is the best option. You would invest your capital and then you would reap the same benefits as if you were doing the work, but you're not, which is amazing. And this is one of my roles as well. Like I'm also a passive investor because I love leveraging other people's time and experience. So I work on my own deals, but in order to continue to grow, and especially when you have capital, like for example, the capital from my last project, if I don't have a deal at the moment, but then another active partner has a deal that works well with what I'm looking for, then I will become the passive and invest in that deal. So to me, it makes sense. And this is a great, great option for people who also they really don't like having to deal with tenants and property managers and any of the day-to-day, activities, because I also have friends who are professionals and they love real estate, but the thought of, talking to tenants really like stresses them out. So their best option is to be a passive investor. So I think this is a really great option for those who see the benefits of real estate, but they just either, don't have the time, they don't have the experience or the expertise, and they just want to do things that bring them joy and, leave the experts to do their jobs, right? In terms of the active management side. And the people who are active, usually they're obsessed with real estate. So they're going to love it.
Yeah, that is true. We do talk about real estate a lot.
Exactly. So we talked about the top strategy, which was to invest in real estate. The second strategy to increase your net worth, which is to increase the cash flow, is through private lending. Private lending is a really great option for people who have capital, but they don't they don't really want to either qualify for a mortgage in a joint venture, or they don't want to own real estate. They just really want the cash flow because they like the extra money for traveling or extra sports for their children and things like that, because you could get paid monthly or at the end of the term. So there's usually three options here in terms of private lending. So the first option is through a promissory note. So the lender will have the capital and they will go into a contract, which is called a promissory note, with the borrower. And then the great thing about private lending is that it's very flexible. You can, negotiate between the two parties, and whichever terms they're comfortable with. It's usually 1 to 2 year term, and the rates, depending on whether it's secured or unsecured, is usually hovering around, starts at 8%. And then you can just negotiate on the terms. And then the second option, like I said, when I talked about it being secured, is you can actually use real estate as a lien to do your private lending, right? So you would register the loan against a property, and if anything happens, you still have that physical real estate as an asset, as a collateral for your private lending. So that's also another great option. And the third one is it's the same idea, but you're getting monthly interest payments. So it's really like your money has a job, and that job is paying you every month, and you're literally collecting cash flow every month through your private lending deals. So those are the three ways that private lending can really help you increase your net worth and just increase your cash flow. If you're not interested in owning real estate, but you want to leverage it, this is a great option.
I have a story about this, the private lending piece. When I was first starting out, we were doing burrs. My husband and I, using our construction company, doing smaller residential burrs, mostly fourplexes. And we borrowed some funds on our second project, private lending funds for the renovations. And, we did the project, we paid them back. And I remember having a conversation with the lender when I was, returning the funds. And it was a monthly distribution. So they were getting their interest every month, and then I'm giving them back their principal at the end of the term.
But I'd like to share another example too, for private lending. So I had someone, and she was a beginner investor. So she wanted to build a new fence for her backyard, but she was having a hard time saving for it. And then she ended up doing the private lending deal. And within that 1 year, she was able to rebuild her fence from the cash flow of the private lending, and she didn't have to go and get a part-time job or, save extra on top of what she was already doing. So it's a really great option for people who just want that extra cash flow and have more flexibility with their finances.
Amazing. Yeah. I love that. So benefits of having a high net worth, as we mentioned earlier, that is how we qualify for the commercial mortgages. So it becomes easier and easier to qualify for any loans, for that matter, once you have a higher net worth. You may or may not have noticed, and depending on what level you are in your net worth journey.
Amazing. So like we mentioned, there's lots of benefits of being a high net worth individual or company, but the top benefit is being an accredited investor. And it's because of these reasons here that you see. So your capital, you can use your capital to be passive. So that frees up a lot of your time, and you get to enjoy life on your own terms. The second one is you also have access to really unique investment opportunities that are not available to non-accredited investors. And we're going to show you one after as a case study. But sometimes, I'm sure you've all wondered, sometimes you'll see, people investing in these huge deals, and you're just like, how do they do it? Or how do they get in? It's because they became an accredited investor. So that's one of the huge pros of being an accredited investor. You really do get access to unique opportunities. And in addition, you also get access to high returns, because these huge projects usually come with higher returns as well, because they're, at a larger scale, there's, more involved. So therefore the returns are usually higher. And then the other thing is that increased diversification in your portfolio. You get access to more different kinds of opportunities, right? So you can do private lending, you can do larger scale deals. So this is just a general website. Same thing, you can go on Google and type in accredited investor. It will depending where you live. So this one is a general definition. You're welcome to go and speak to a lawyer if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the definition of accredited investor. So usually or generally, you would have an individual would have a net asset of about 5 million. The income usually is 200,000 per year, or a joint salary of 300 for the last 2 years. And then financial assets, usually about 1 million of liquid financial assets. And then there's other items as well, but these are the 3 common requirements to be an accredited investor. And you can go and read more about it online. There's tons and tons of information. Just make sure you're reading. I think most of us are in Ontario, some are in BC. Just make sure you're looking up in your province as well, so that it's specific to you. Adriana, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, awesome. This is super helpful because it answers a question that, again, a lot of people have. What is an accredited investor? The difference between net assets and financial assets is real estate. So, net assets, if you have $5 million net worth, that means you've been investing, or you come from a family that's been investing, you have financial education to be able to make your decision and tolerance on your risk level. That's what it's meant to do to protect you.
So that's why sometimes people will see, there'll be like a project, and then right at the bottom, they'll say open to accredited investors only. That's what they're referring to. So if you've always seen that and you've wondered what that means, that's essentially what they're referring to. That's our presentation in terms of how you can increase your net worth this year. We've given you several options, but we've given you the top 2 options as well. And then now we're going to just talk about a project that we're working on that was closed as well. Adriana, you can share about Shamrock here.
Yeah, I feel like we have some of our investors here as well, so that's exciting. So this is a 50-unit portfolio that we closed on about a month ago now, I believe, in and around there. Yes, about a month, June 16th or so. So it's a very exciting project. We are in the thick of project managing it right now. We are meeting with our construction company. We're getting layouts finalized, finished, materials finalized, orders are getting sent in. So very exciting. This is a portfolio of 4 buildings side by side on their own private court in St. John, New Brunswick. Between my business partner and I, we have over 100 units out there right now. So we're operating them. We have a really amazing team of we have in-house property management. We have our construction team in place. And then we just have a lot of knowledge about the market, vacancies, rents, all of that. This portfolio is from the 1970s and needed some love. We're going to be renovating this portfolio and repositioning it, increasing rents, and ultimately we'll end up with a brand new 50-unit building. The other exciting thing that we've been working on this in the background is we believe we can add up to another 8 units on this portfolio, which would increase the valuation significantly of this building. We did purchase at $85,000 a door. Once it's complete and rented at market value, we're expecting an appraisal of about $195 a door. So as you can see, we're increasing the valuation of this building significantly, which will allow us to refinance and pay back some of those funds much sooner than we would be able to otherwise with the value add option here. So it's a very exciting project, and we're already hitting the ground running with it. this specific project, the deal structure that we have here is a GP-LP structure. So it's a partnership between general partners and limited partners. The total raise for this project was about $2.6 million. And that includes everything. That includes the purchase and the improvements portion of this portfolio. As I mentioned, we did close with a purchase plus improvements mortgage, which is very exciting and a very good rate still that we're operating, and it's interest only while we're doing all the renovations. So it's the same type of financing that a developer, would get on a new build, which is extremely exciting for us. We are finalizing the raise right now for the last two spots on the construction phase. We do a 50-50% share with our investors. We also do a preferred cash flow return, 60-40 until you get paid in complete full. And then the payments, your investment is paid back before there's any profit shares that happens in this building. We are looking to projected to return somewhere between 73% or plus of your money back in about 2 years. So we do have a 2-year construction phase on this. We already are getting started, as I mentioned. We're looking to do, one building will take about 6 months. We are going to be doing 2 buildings at once, as well as adding the new units, which would bring the potential valuation of this portfolio much higher than what we originally projected, which again is very exciting. And it can increase the value significantly. We're excited. If you're interested in joining us on this 50 units portfolio and deal, feel free to reach out, and we're glad to sit down with you and go through any more information that you like to know.
Yes, exactly. So feel free to follow us on social media if you aren't already. Yes, there you go. So it's just our names, but just in case you weren't following us already on Instagram, that's our email address as well. You can just send us like a keyword or just in the title, Invest 50, and we will know that you came to this presentation and you want more information on the project, or if you have any questions about your net worth, how to calculate it if you're not sure, we're happy to have a chat as well. So I see some questions.
I guess I can read some questions. We can kind of go over them. The first one that I see here that we hadn't answered yet was it a legal apartment? I guess they're talking about your basement unit and what was the rental income per month there?
So it is a legal apartment. I went through the city, went through the whole process. We had the occupancy permit before we rented it out. And the rental right now, it's rented at $1,150, but it could easily be rented for $1,250, even $1,300, because we have a washer and dryer stackable one. So it's a huge plus for tenants in that area to have a bachelor with in-suite laundry. It's like amazing. So that's what we're renting it for. And then I see another question by Roberta. Is it possible to buy and renovate a property far from where you live? Who supervises the contractors if you are not there?
Yeah, that is a great question. And ultimately, I'm going to tell you how I've done it. And I've done it through a partnership. So our business partner is our operations manager. He's boots on the ground. He goes, sees the buildings, he supervises. He's also an electrician by trades. I do have a ton of construction experience. I do run a construction business. So obviously those skill sets have really helped us in operate everything very smoothly, but ultimately he lives there and he supervises it, everything for us. So that's been a huge change for us and huge benefit to be able to operate our buildings and make sure they're performing the way we would like them to perform. That's how I've done it myself. Danielle, do you want to give some of the insight of how you've done it on your end?
So I think it's important when you're investing outside, of your city, is like you said, if you don't have a boots on the ground partnership, then you have to build a really strong team. Maybe a lot of people will go there first and then build their team and then come back to their hometown. But now they know they've had like their connections and their team, the power team is ready to go. Usually it involves having a really great property manager. So if you don't have like a business partner in that city, you have an amazing property manager that you really trust and you've worked on projects together before, or they come referred to you from someone that you know and trust that has worked with them. So I think that's the key. Either you have a partner there or you go there and you build your team, and then you start to have that comfort and invest out of your own city. And then also, I mean, with today's technology, you could do Zoom calls, you could do Zoom walkthroughs, you can ask your contractor, to FaceTime you, show you the progress. You can send people that you know in that city to go check on it. There's many different options. I think it's a limiting belief to think because you're not there physically, you can't invest there. With today's options, it's just it's just a limiting belief that we have set for ourselves, right? We have to be creative, and we have to set up processes and systems and set up our team, essentially. We will chat. And if anybody else has a similar question or is also interested in using the RSP, you're welcome to do the same. Just reach out to us, and you can put invest 50 RRSP, and then we'll know what we're going to chat about.
There's a question from Mike. It says, how much net worth would you say someone would need to acquire these specialized rates and from lending institutions? So it's a very good question. I'm going to be honest, and I would say I ultimately do not know the answer, especially because it will be different for every lender. Now, I do know from firsthand experience and from knowing colleagues and friends who have qualified. I find that 5 million is a really good threshold to have, because it does bring you that accredited, and it brings that accredited side for everybody. Like, I like to tell a story quite. I
have a picture with Scott.
I know, I do too. I have.
I think we all do.
I used to work as part of Scott's travel team for almost 4 years up until COVID. And I remember a conversation we had over dinner once where he said, I knew I made it when the bank called me and offered me a $10 million line of credit. And I'm like, how does that even happen? And he said it was based on my net worth. He was already working with, a specialized, advisor, whatever word that they have, wealth management person. If you have a $10 million line of credit at crazy 2.2% interest rates, that is life changing, and that could make you a lot of money very fast. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely worth considering your net worth as part of your plan to generate wealth.
Amazing. I love that. Can you imagine the bank calling you with that kind of loan?
$1 million for you.
Yes. And years ago, before I knew about investing and using debt as leverage, I would have been like, oh my God, that's crazy talk. But now I'm like, yes, I will take it. I will make lots of money with this. Thank you very much. Okay, perfect. And then we have Kiran Preet is asking, what's the best way? Chantal is asking, what's the best way to access private lenders?
So, I mean, this is it right here. I think networking is extremely important. You gotta, kind of get to know people, build some trust. There's also institutional private lenders. You don't only have to go to individuals. You can go to a mortgage broker and they can access private lending for you. And there's other professionals out there that will provide those funds. That doesn't have to be raising from an individual. There's options like that as well. I've just myself have built a really, really great network of people around me. So you build relationships as well, and eventually you have your own network of investors that you build trust and can continue to leverage on the private lending side.
And I'd like to add, you also have to let people know that you are looking for, private lenders, or if you want to private lend yourself, you need to put it out there as well, right? People have to know what you're looking for in order to come to you. So that's really important. That's the networking part of, getting that access to private lenders. So just be mindful, like if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you want to do, put it out there, and that's how people are going to know. So that's really important. It's something really simple, but people forget, to do sometimes. Just let people know what you're looking for. Okay, we have one more question by Chantal. What's the best way to analyze a deal for a multi-unit building? So for this one, I'm going to say there's a really great app called Deal Check. And you can use, I think, up to 10 analysis for free. And then I think afterwards you might have to pay. But I recommend checking that out and just playing around with that app to see how the numbers work. But if you're asking for something maybe specific, because deal analysis in itself could be a whole presentation. So I don't know, Adriana, anything else to add to that one?
Yeah, so I do agree with Danielle. At the end of the day, I've customized my own. I feel like a lot of businesses will do that. But if you're getting started and you're just looking to analyze some deals, I think Deal Check is a really good starting point for you.
Amazing. Okay, well, I think that's it for this evening. Thank you so much. Like, those were really great questions. I think we can stop sharing screen. Maybe we can see some faces. I know, maybe not. Everyone's still shy. Hi, Ernie. Roberta, nice to see you. Kim, Kiran. This is so if there are no other questions, we can say goodnight. And if you have any questions about the 50 unit, reach out to either one of us with the keyword invest 50. And if you're thinking about using your RSP at TFSA, just add that in as well. So that way we can chat more about it. Adriana, any last words? Thank you very much, everybody. I see all the comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the love. We appreciate it. It's such an honor to be able to give back to the community and add value to you guys as well. We both know what it's like to be starting, or I learn something new every day. So it's a pleasure to be able to learn and pass it on. And it just builds the whole community, and it builds wealth, and it gives back to people. So I love it. Thank you so much for coming. And I look forward to seeing all of you soon.
Before we log off, I know I'm so sorry. I want to take a picture for social media. So if anybody is feeling brave and wants to turn their camera on, feel free to do so now. But if you're okay, that's fine. No pressure, no pressure. I'll take a quick picture here. Oh, I have some new faces. Yay. Oh, yay, there's more. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 more seconds because I'm feeling the love. So you guys can do it. Okay, I think that's good. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody. That's amazing. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Just remember, calculate your net worth. It's important exercise.